The fire status, we're getting updates every day from CAL FIRE, Yellow County, and from Chief Lopez. Right now, it looks like most of the fires around us are contained with the black containment lines, but Chief Lopez can talk about that a little bit more. It was a very stressful week for us at the end of last week. Our fire guys worked for about 72 hours solid. They did a really great job on everything. We did put together an emergency proclamation for a local emergency on Friday afternoon to have it ready just in case, but the fire never did any damage inside the city limits, so we did not transmit that proclamation to the city, or I'm sorry, to the state. So the proclamation has been withdrawn at this point. All of the damage is outside of our actual city limits. So Yellow County, Solano County, and Napa County will have to take the lead on helping all of those folks that are outside the city limits. We didn't have any damage inside. I know that the community has been rallying behind all the firefighters. They've been rallying behind all of the people that have lost their homes or been evacuated for their homes for an extended period of time. And I think Lisa Baker has a report to talk about some fundraising activities. And I'm not sure if either of the chiefs have popped on at this time. I don't see them listed, but I think Lisa's ready to talk a little bit about what's going on with some of the fundraising activities and things like that.
Okay. It looks like they're both on. Both chiefs are on, but we'll let Lisa Baker go first and talk a little bit about the efforts that we've all been working on in regards to the winter's fire relief fund that has been started. Lisa?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I want to actually, on a personal note, living on the western edge of the Yolo and Zealands, thank the emergency responders for keeping us safe in the city and for the proactive work on backfires. Thank you. Also, we want to thank everyone in the community who have stepped up already. As you may know, the winter's nursery school started a donation drive, and the Yolo Food Bank has also come in with non-food items or immediate needs for some of the affected families. And as the mayor and Councilor Lord also spoke to, they've been very active working in the community on addressing sort of immediate and longer-term needs through fundraising. With that, organizations have come together pretty quickly to establish the Greater Women's Fire Relief Fund. The Rotary Foundation is acting as the 501c3 for purposes of tax-deductible donation. Mayor Cowan and Councilman Lauren have been working with the organizing committee along with Rotary and some others. And I am happy to say that First Northern Bank actually also set up a donation account. Folks can go to any First Northern Bank branch and make a donation. You can also donate directly on Women's Rotary Facebook page. And many merchants are also participating. So if you were missed, I didn't mention the nursery school, Buckhorn, First Northern, Turkovich, Berryessa Gap, Ace, and Steady Eddies all have donation jars available for folks who want to drop hard for cash donations around town. So pick a meal, pick up the wine, pick up coffee, and drop off the donation. And as of today, we have received $34,881 Facebook donations. And as of about yesterday, $3,500 to First Northern Bank account. Yet got today's donations for others that may have come in, and an additional $1,280 donated cards and cash to local merchants. That brings our total in a very short period of time to $39,661 donated. I'd also like to make a shout out to Supervisor Sigmund for also promoting through his venues the relief fund, and Davis City Councilman Bill Hardman and the Councilman talking to Sonoma County and also to other fire affected areas on what organizing and assistance could look like. And there is an organizing committee with the folks that we've already talked about. And as of today, St. Louis Paul and Rise are also part of that working group and looking at how we'll be using the funds to both address immediate needs and think about what the longer term recovery plan could look like and what the opportunities for the group. That's kind of what we have today. With that, I know Lauren and Mayor Powell have been very engaged with also. So that's thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Does anybody have any questions for Lisa? Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem Biaggi.
So Lisa, if you could just clarify for me, so that committee that's put together, they're going to determine the strategy on how that money will be distributed, is that right?
So Rotary, of course, is the 501c3 taking the fund, so they have quite a bit of say, and the board's been engaged in discussion, and then there is this sort of greater working group that is also working with them on what that strategy will look like. So that is Councilmember Lauren, myself, Anderson from Rotary, Elizabeth Enoch from St. Vincent de Paul, and Chico Zindick from Rice.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any comments on this, or is there anybody from the public that wants to ask any questions that are related to the fire issues and what the city might be doing or might not be doing? Does anybody have any comments? Tracy, is there any hands up or anybody want to comment?
Yeah, Kate Laddish, if she could unmute herself.
Yep, she did. Hi,
Okay.
Kate.
Thanks. Hi, thanks, Mayor. And, I don't want to jump ahead of the two chiefs if they're about to make comments as well. And so if it's easier for me to wait, I'm happy to wait.
That's okay. You're there. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. All right, well, thanks. And really, I'd like to start by extending very, very heartfelt thanks to everybody who's been involved with both fighting the fire and with the relief efforts that have been happening. It's impressive, it is stirring, and it's also really important. So thank you to everybody in the fire department, police department, the city. I really appreciate it. I know there are a lot of other efforts as well. So I'll preface with my comments with that for the last 2 years, I've been working on issues related to emergency preparedness, evacuation planning, and evacuation noticing, with a particular eye to people with access and functional needs and seniors. And for a little over the last year, I've been part of a subcommittee, a disaster preparedness subcommittee of the Yolo County Commission on Aging and Adult Services that's tasked with formulating recommendations on that exact topic to go to the Board of Supervisors. So we took our draft recommendations to the supervisors in late January. Staff responded. We're actually taking our final and revised recommendations to the supervisors next Tuesday. And one of the issues that's come up is just the importance of getting information to people during an emergency. And there's certainly been a lot of discussion about that locally, with people concerned that they didn't get information, or for people who did eventually get information, that it came pretty late in the game. And there's been, certainly in discussion that I've seen and heard, a lot of focus on Yolo County. But the good news with this is that City of Winters is actually really well placed to help solve part of this problem. And that I hope it's something that the city will do. There's a lot of attention that's paid to the people who were directly impacted by the fire. With looking at the timing of alerts, did they get it before the fire actually got there? Did they get an alert? There's been less discussion in some ways about what happens within city limits, and that sometimes in some discussions, an area that is not actually evacuated is seen to be as like not needing an alert. But the thing is that sometimes it's really important to let people know that the safest thing they can do is to stay right where they are. Especially during the pandemic, the sheltering protocols are pretty buttoned down. I mean, there's a lot of effort put into establishing non-congregate sheltering, with people going to an information only rally point and getting getting triage, getting hotel rooms, that sort of thing. If we have people from in town thinking, oh my God, there's a fire, it is coming right here, I don't know what to do, and they leave, that we're actually taking resources from them, from people who really need it. We're also putting them at risk from this virus. And so last Tuesday night, obviously it was a really fast-moving situation. It was not a situation anybody wants to recreate. And I understand that there were a lot of challenges, including challenges with getting information to people. But I think that we really have an opportunity right now to make it so that it's better next time it happens. My concern is that, and this is like, if the fire come into the city of Winters, if it had run that direction, I'm concerned that there would have been catastrophic loss of life, because people were not apprised of the situation. People didn't have an idea of what was coming. So that's the other side of the coin, of making sure that there's good alerting. I think right now would be a really good opportunity for us to work towards having a culture of preparedness in our city, and make it so that people are having neighborhood scale discussions about what their emergency preparedness and evacuation planning is. Make sure that people who can't actually get out on their own will be left behind. And make it so that it's actually a positive discussion. There are models for that. And I think there's more that could be said. The Winters Senior Commission is working on this. Part of the County Senior Commission's recommendations included ideas for the local senior commissions to work on, and the Winters one hit the ground running on that last winter. I'll close by saying that at a meeting that I had with actually the chief of CAL FIRE's office of no, sorry, not CAL FIRE, Cal OES's Office of Access and Functional Needs last Thursday, he reiterated there's no such thing as over-alerting. And I think that that's really something for us to consider as we move forward with this. The city of Winters can access Everbridge and actually send our own alerts. If Willow County is reluctant to notify people within city limits who are not yet evacuated, the city of Winters has a rich opportunity to step into that role and help things work well. So thank you so much. I would be delighted to be part of whatever discussion and project goes forward with this.
Hey, great. Thank you, Kate. Would Chief Miller or Chief Lopez like to speak a little bit about the fire?
Hi, Mayor. Chief Lopez here. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Great, Mayor, Council, thank you. Yes, I'd like to provide a brief update for you. Currently, as we look today with the LAU complex fire, we're sitting at 352,913 acres in and around Lake Berryessa. Obviously, since Tuesday, I'd like to share that Winters firefighters were actively involved in this incident. Early Tuesday morning, we had about a 50-acre fire at Monticello Dam, just below the Monticello Dam between Hanging Creek Resort. We were on that incident throughout the night, and when the Hennessy fire in the Napa County side really pushed hard to the east and into Mixed Canyon and the Solano County areas. 15 Winters firefighters have been involved directly on that incident. Like Shelley mentioned, working tirelessly in excess of 72 hours in many cases for our folks. This was a very dynamic and complex incident and wind-driven fire. So there were a multitude of complexities that we were challenged by, not only with managing the incident, but providing for evacuations and available resources. As you may have heard, the state of California has been stretched very, very thin. And CAL FIRE has relied upon local agencies to literally provide fire protection in a lot of these areas with very limited resources. So that's some of the things that we have been challenged with locally, especially on the Winters local level and with Winters Fire Department. But I am proud to say that I'm proud of the work that our folks have done, putting countless hours of very hard work and very dangerous work, and making sure that we've tried to evacuate as many people as possible, because it was literally a life and death matter, just how fast this fire was moving. Further upon that, today we have we did a crew rotation. We have a strike team out on the LNU complex fire. We did a crew rotation today. Captain Shane Baumgart returned home with his crew, and we sent out Captain Shekla with a crew, a new crew out there. So they're going to be out on the incident in excess of 10 to 14 days, as long as this incident lasts. Crews are doing well. They're healthy and doing well. So we're happy to support them there. And I also like to thank the local support from our community, and as well as our city staff and council members, and supporting us and just checking in on us and how we're doing and if we have any needs. So I appreciate that. Some little intel at the county level on things. Evacuations and repopulations are still ongoing. As of 8/22, Yolo County is repopulating throughout the Winters area. I did receive information from Dana Carey this afternoon. PG&E has reported a restoration of power throughout Yolo County. So that's good news, and that's also going to help with the repopulation of folks back into their areas. Other than that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions that folks may have.
Okay, has anybody got any questions for Chief Lopez? Okay, would Chief Miller like to make any comments about the police response to the incident?
Sure. Yeah, on the law enforcement side, law enforcement is responsible for actually effective evacuation, finding evacuation order. Winters Police Department was involved starting Tuesday afternoon around noon with initial evacuation, providing mutual aid to the Yolo County Sheriff's Department, and Solano County Sheriff's Department in that area. It became critical again early the next morning, the morning about 3 a.m. We sent more resources up to assist with additional evacuations Wednesday morning. We also opened up the public safety facility training group at Valley Point, and then staffed that. We did not have anybody show up to the wireless communication. We tried getting on the communication as quickly as possible. Obviously, through social media platforms, I was trying to push information out. As much as I could, information was very dicey. Matter of fact, from day one, hour one, information was problematic. From my initial notification, we actually rolled up to part of this evaluator at one point to meet with Chief Lopez to get straight information, to push straight information. And then as we know, even through this last weekend with repopulation, we're still having problems with communication with no Peter Plain, but CAL FIRE communicating with OES, communicating with local authorities. Big shout out to Dale Jimenez, our CFO. Once Dale came in and she only works day shift, just really stayed on top of social media on behalf of the police department. She also sued with the fire department and city members. And she maintained that even on her hours off, and days off. So hopefully, I certainly pushed information as quickly as we could. As with any major event, our communication is always at the break. So already talking to the area at OES to try to improve the channels of communication and getting accurate information out as quickly as possible. We have not been requested for any additional mutual aid. It's impacting the coastal region, the part of what's called inland region operating area. Region 3, there's Region 2.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Miller? Okay. I will make a few comments regarding the fires. Definitely, as Chief Miller mentioned, Gail Jimenez at the police station has been vital as far as pushing the correct information out as we received it for the city, for the fire, for the police. So a big shout out to her and thank you to her for all of her work on this. And I also want to mention some of the businesses and stuff, and I don't know if I'll miss some or not, but I know day one, Sunny Guy with Taco Bell and Burger King were bringing food to the fire station and for evacuees. Buckhorn did a drive that sold out in an hour where they were doing 2 meals for evacuees for every one that was bought, and it literally sold out in an hour. And they've been doing additional meals between Pewter Creek and Buckhorn. And I know Carboni's has been doing some meals as well. And so just about everybody in town has been helping out. I know, people have been able to literally get a bottle of wine from Various or Turkovich and go get a meal at Buckhorn and, have a good meal. And I know Buckhorn, Emery has told me that there's several of her suppliers that are helping make this happen as far as, them donating the food. And she said she had to tell some of them to slow down a little bit because she couldn't cook that fast. So that's a good thing. And then all the efforts from all the groups in town to kind of come together for this greater winter's fire relief, because a lot of these folks don't live within the city limits and don't even live within Yolo County, but they still have a winter's zip code and a winter's address and consider themselves winter's, residents, even though they don't technically live here. And those are the ones that, we're trying to focus on and help out as much as we can. I mean, some of them are our own employees, that have literally lost everything. So, I just want to thank everybody in town that's been pitching in and helping out with all of the efforts to raise funds, to get products and meals, and for the fire department as well. I was, down there a lot with Shelley. We moved City Hall down there because City Hall was too darn smoky. And, somebody showed up with 2 pallets of water. And we had somebody else show up twice with an entire pickup load of food and drink for the first responders. So the outpouring of aid has been tremendous, and it's been really needed, and we thank everybody for that. I will mention one other thing that we have coming that just developed this afternoon. I actually got a call from, her name is Julie, and she is part of the Jackery company. And what Jackery is they make solar powered generators. They make small generators that have batteries, and comes with a little solar panel that charges the battery and would allow people to be able to run a couple of things in their house if they're still without power, or at least be able, when they're out at their home sites, doing what they can, be able to charge their phones, things like that. I'm expecting an email from her later tonight. She is going to donate a bunch of these units for us to distribute to the people that could use them. So I think that's really awesome. They're not cheap units. The one thing was, she was concerned about mailing them. I said, I'd be happy to come get. Just tell me how big and how heavy the pallet, and I'll make sure I have something that can haul it. So we're going to be getting those within the next couple of days to get out to folks as well. I don't know. I think that's about it for me. Thank you, Shelley. This is like baptism by fire. get made officially interim city manager, and the next morning you get woke up by fire in the middle of the night. So you've done a great job. Is anybody else got any comments to make? Mayor Pro Tem Biagi.
Yeah, I noticed you have Supervisor Saylor on the line here, and I was wondering if he could give us an update on the efforts of the county to do the emergency notifications and how that all played out.
That would be a great idea. Supervisor Saylor, would you be willing to kind of address the notification stuff a little bit that Kate was talking about?
Yes, I'm delighted to, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to talk to you all. And first of all, I want to share this, if you can see this. I don't know if I'm going to
Kind of, sort of.
There you go. There you go.
Winners has heart, I think.
Winners has heart, and this is a screen print that was designed by Susan Hamilton, who is well known to everybody in Winners. And she had a few extra of these a few months ago, and wanted me to find a way to make them useful. And so as soon as the Rotary Club set up the Greater Winners Relief Fund, we started pumping these things out and asking people to make a donation to that fund. And if they did, then I would deliver a t-shirt that Susan had printed directly to their homes. Of course, that meant that they had to give up their address to me, which was probably a disincentive for some folks. But we're still working on it. Susan is printing out another batch, and please let me know if you want to make a contribution and get a recognition with that small gift. This fire happened on Tuesday night so abruptly. It came up. It was on the other side of the mountains. On Sunday, I went up to Cositas, and right at the top of Cositas, there's a family. They've been there since 1972. They've evacuated 5 of the last 6 years. And so they've seen a lot of fires, seen a lot of smoke over the years, and kind of know when they leave and when they can kind of weather the flames. But this year, a woman at the top there said that she had gone to bed, got up and looked out because the dog was barking. She looked out, and it was like lava flowing over the top of the hill across the creek from where their place is. The fire was moving so fast, and embers were flying. Of course, that night, we already had fires in Southern California and all over the place. So all of our strike teams, even from Yolo County, our fire departments, we'd already deployed strike teams to Southern California. CAL FIRE was fully deployed. It was smoky and dark, so air support was not available. We did get some engines responding, but many of them were too large to go into the places where the fire needed to be fought. I know any of you who have taken the tour have seen how some of the places are just hard to get down into. An example of that is up above in Cache Creek, where we've got this low water bridge. Every time there's a fire the last few years, they've had to go in and reinstall a floating bridge at that location. We think we got money from the legislature, thanks to Cecilia, frankly, to put a permanent bridge in there, but it's not there yet. So the notices that went out, what's important here, a really important message for everybody is you need to sign on. You need to register for YOLO-alerts.org. That's YOLO-alerts.org. And when you register, you put your address in. And if you live in town and you have property outside of town, you probably want to register twice so that you've got both places on the alert system. So we did have some folks who live in town and didn't get an alert for the property outside of town. We also have people who live in Solano County and were not registered for the Solano alert system. So they're 2 different alert systems. And of course, there's one of the issues that we experience is that I know that Kate and others looked out and saw this wall of fire, or the flames. I shouldn't describe it because I didn't see it, but saw fire outside of town. And of course, that caused concern. They didn't have information about what was going on, and that worried people quite a bit. So we do need to have some kind of information sharing inside town when there's something happening outside town. The way our current system works is you're only getting a notice, one, if you're signed up. And that's, you can get a spam call from somebody wanting you to buy a cruise a trip on a cruise ship, but you can't get an alert system, alert emergency unless you sign up for it. So you have to sign up, and then you have to be in an evacuation zone. Now, the evacuation zones were developed by our emergency planners from all, including, I'm sure Chief Lopez or his predecessor was involved in that. So they went in and divided up the geography of the county in these zones. And this saves but it takes the people looking in advance at where they might be located. Because the zones are numbered. So if you're inside the city limits of Winters, it's number 59. If you're outside, it's 58 and 56. And up in the Cache Creek area, Cape Valley, it's like 1, 2, 3 through 14 or 15 or something like that. So you have to know what zone you're in to be able to track what's going on. There's also something called rallying points. Now, a rallying point is not a shelter. It might not even have anything located. The rallying point is a place where people can go when they first evacuate and figure out what to do next. And so you've got an evacuation zone with directions on how to get to your rallying point. That's useful if you've got family members, say 2 or 3 family members wonder where everybody's at. Well, that rallying point might be a place where they gather. The Tuesday night event was sudden, it was intense, it was fast, and the people from Winters Fire Department, the people from the volunteer fire departments up in the Cache Creek area, they were the first line of defense. And they were out there in the middle of the night, and if not for their work, pretty bad things would have happened. But they were under resourced, and they were under incredible pressure, and that lasted for a couple of days. These kind of events are going to continue to happen. This one's not completely out. The mop-up activity is in process. I don't know if they're going to do any more backfires. They've got a good black line all the way from Winters up to the county line on 16. And
20.
And all the way up to 20. Okay. So we've got a black line in place. That we think this one might be a matter of mopping things up and putting out the spot fires. And so we'll see, because it could easily go up again. But what we've got really is something to pay pretty close attention to. This is the second largest fire in California history. It's over 350,000 acres at this point. Of all of the 10 largest fires in California's history, 6 of them have happened in the last 5 years. So that's a pretty big deal. We're only at the beginning of fire season. So we're going to continue to listen to the experience that people had with alerts, make sure we understand where there were gaps, try to increase the penetration of registering up for yellow alerts, look at the issue of adjacent areas and how we can get information out. We do use our Facebook, our Yolo County Facebook page for sort of informational topical updates, and there is a website on current events and incidents that people can get to if something's going on, say in Clarksburg, and maybe somebody in Winters has got some property in Clarksburg they want to monitor, a relative over there. So you can find information about other parts of the county, but to date, we're not notifying people of evacuation needs if they're not in the evacuation area. And I think we clearly have identified some points that need attention here, because Winters is right at the junction of Solano and Yolo County. It's right at the junction of several evacuation zones. We've got some work to do in figuring out a way to do it in a reasonable manner that gets the word out to people when they need it. And even with that event on Tuesday was something that if we had told people it was abrupt and sudden and intense, if we had told people at 10 o'clock on Tuesday night that they needed to evacuate, they would have called us foolish. They wouldn't have done it. We would have lost and then when we told them a couple hours later they needed to, they might not have gone because, well, you told me that before, nothing happened. So it's a balancing act, And I'm just so grateful that the losses weren't much more significant than they were. I'm so sad for those who did lose all of it, lose everything, and grateful for the Winters community for the heart that you've shown in responding to the needs of our neighbors.
Okay, thank you Supervisor Saylor. Mayor Pro Tem Biaggi.
Just a follow-up, is there a, some type of a reverse 911 call that can go out to people who aren't signed up through the yellow alert?
Bill, I haven't heard of one of those at this point, but I'll raise that. And I guess I should make one more point, that there is something that we do that's done. CAL FIRE does this, and with all of the folks who were involved in an incident afterwards, it's an after-action debriefing. I know that Chief Lopez will be involved in that. And that's it. I think that one of the things we can do as lay people, as elected officials, is make sure that the responders understand what the community's concerns and experiences were, so that they can include that in their discussion in the after-action briefing. That's what I've been trying to gather comments from people, listen and write them down and share them with the folks who be doing that.
I can chime in on reverse 911 through Everbridge. OES can do an area, basically circle an area on the map, and that will do a phone call out to those areas. So that's again through being fairly with OES.
Well, that would have been a good thing to do, I think. So we'll follow up on that one too.
Yeah, because there was a lot of confusion that first 24 to 36 hours about Winters has to evacuate. No, they don't. Yes, they do. No, it was just back and forth constantly, and I think part of it is a lot of people don't have a good understanding of the zones that you were referring to, and they see Winters just because it's Winters addresses, but not within the city limits. So because what we don't want is we had a couple incidents with the fires years ago where parts of Winters were told to evacuate when we really didn't need to. And, so that's where I think some adjustments were done to some of those lines that make a lot better sense. But, I think there's, definitely lessons to be learned, as there always is. And Kate will help hammer them out.
If I can chime in on that, that's already a conversation between them. Sure, you are correct. I forgot the clock is close. They evacuated everything less than 505 north of 128 for the evacuation warning. So we define the zones a little better, but even with this incident, there's discussion about defining that even further.
Right.
I wanted to just chime in that I'm very grateful for everybody's comments. I'm very grateful. I wanted to go back to a conversation I had with Supervisor Saylor from Quail Fire, and that was that many of the residents in Winters were quite edgy and had anxiety over the fact that Solano was keeping Solano information in Solano, and I just wanted to kind of put the plug in that there's the Winters city limits, but Winters School District serves both Solano and Yolo County, and it's much larger, and they consider themselves Winters families, and we consider them Winters families. They work in our stores, and they also depend on this hub, and they're our relatives and our family members. And so when the information from Solano is siloed, it creates a lot of tension here. So even though you are our county supervisor and we appreciate you, it would be really nice to have John Vasquez in on conversations, or at least, building more of a cooperative way to communicate across the county lines, because Winters doesn't obey the county lines. We're, Solano Community College is who we pay taxes to for community college. It's all in Solano, but we're in Yolo. So we're kind of different and special, and we hope that we can build those trusted lines of communication in the future with your work. Thank you.
If I could respond to comment on that. I think the challenge is that it is organized by county lines, and I think that currently what folks probably should do is make sure they're signed up for the alerts in both Solano and Yolo County, so that as individuals they can kind of get information from wherever and deal with it with some with their own volition. We do have some work to do, and we have two different systems. I would like, but we got to do a little bit better as a collective, both with the city and the two counties, on getting this notice stuff working out very, very well. I think we talked about it a little bit at our last 2x2. I think we should follow up on those points. I wonder if we can look at the boundaries of the school district and see if there's some way we can do something there about a separate kind of zone. I'll tell you that Solano County is very big, and I'm sure that there are notices around Benicia and Vallejo and Fairfield and that. Those are big places, and they're a long ways away from English Hills and Pleasant Valley Road and Quail Canyon. So I think we, in some ways, our friends on the Solano side of the boundary really need to be knitted in with the Winters Group a little bit more too.
Yeah, and I think we need a little more communication, whatever it may be, with Napa County as well, with Markley Cove and the losses they've suffered. Markley Cove and the rest of Lake Berryessa is a pretty big economic driver for Winters, especially. I mean, all those boats and all those people that come through week after week after week, and they stop at our stores, they stop at our gas stations, they stop at our restaurants, and so the loss of all that activity, even though that activity takes place mostly in Napa County, is a big impact on not only the city of Winters, but Yolo County as well. So I think we need to also do everything we can to work with Napa, work with, I know we've already at the staff level, that was part of our concern with the emergency declaration is can we somehow make that work out to help with Markley, because they live in Winters but they're in Napa. So we got told, no, that doesn't work that way. But still, we need to somehow be able to work with the higher ups, the counties, the state, and the federal government is involved a lot with the lake to help get the lake back up and running, simply for the financial impact that has on the city of Winters and Yolo County.
Well, we've got good history, Wade, as you know, with the stuff like the new bridge that's over Food Creek, where you all kind of leveraged a whole bunch of different players across both counties to make that happen, and other agencies as well. So if the little engine that can. So I think we can do some stuff here. One last, I think the last comment is there's a lot of social media interaction on topics about this. And what I'd like to do is find a way to harness that. So we think sometimes people lament, they say, well, the only way I learned about X event was that my friend down the road posted some photograph with some personal experience. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's if I got to figure out a way to validate and confirm some of those points. But I think if we could find a way to somehow network these social media posts, governments can't be everywhere. We don't have eyes every place that people are, and it's good to get this information from people who are living it. The woman on top of Cositas saw the fire coming over the hill. Well, that's kind of a good piece of information that we should be able to capture and include, even though there might not have been somebody out there watching it. So anyway, I'm musing on that. I'm sorry to take your time, but I think that there ought to be a way for us to capture the insights and experience and observations that people are having.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any comments, or Tracy, is there anybody from the public that has any comments?
Let's see. No.
Okay. All right, if there's no other comments from the council, Councilmember Lauren?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing to Supervisor Saylor, and I really appreciate your caring tone and your follow through and everything. When you were saying maybe we could organize by school district, I just wanted to mention that most of that area there, not only is Winters their city, but they're also 95694. So maybe we could use the zip code also as a way to make it an inclusive Winters family notification.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think we'll move on to our second item, which is discussion and possible action to send a letter from the Winter City Council regarding funding assistance for the 505 Grand Avenue overcrossing. This is a project we've been working on for quite some time with help with the county Supervisor Saylor and quite a few others. I think I've attended meetings on this one from literally a couple of years ago. And so I think there's an opportunity here for us to move this forward a little quicker than we anticipated. And so we're all kind of excited about that. And Council Member Lauren went to the task of preparing a letter that I think everybody else on the council received for review. And we just want to see if anybody's got any additional comments on that, because we'd like to have Tracy print that up for us, and then we can all sign it along with the city manager and put it in the package to hopefully help influence Caltrans to do some work on that overpass for us, which is much needed. So with that, I'll just turn it over to whoever else would like to comment on the item. I'm sure Councilmember Lauren has some comments, and if anybody on the council has any comments regarding the letter, now's the time.
Yeah, that I attended the meeting with Supervisor Saylor, staff, Mayor Cowan, Pierre was on the call, and we decided, well, what can we do to help? And we were kind of tasked by Supervisor Saylor's office to have a letter and have that letter in as soon as possible. And I went ahead and wrote a draft, and I did hear back from Pierre, although he's not on the call, that he supported the letter, but he wanted me to research a little bit more about what parks were available from Rio Villa. And I did reach out to Lise Baker, and she said that all the parks are on our side, that there was no longer a park there. So I revised that portion of the letter to make sure that it was accurate. And it's basically the tone of the letter is that, that capital projects are value statements. And this was a bridge built in 1958. The value was for transportation to be able to cross. Now, that was before the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It was before the Americans with Disability Act of 1990. We have a different value set now, and for safety and for, about 200 words of reasons we need to get a new bridge. And, that's kind of the tone of the letter, and I'm glad that it's supported.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Diazzi.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Councilmember Lauren, for putting that letter together. I think you did a great job. One of my comments I sent you back, I think, in an email, is that we might want to consider including some information about the study that we've already done on it. That we've got a grant, we did the preliminary study on it. And I don't know if that will help our efforts, but they'll know that we've already done some of the labor for it. Maybe if we can include a little bit about that.
That's a good idea. Maybe a copy of that study can be included in the package with the letter. That would be probably a good idea.
Great idea.
Good job.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments on this item, or is there any public comment, Tracy?
I don't see anything, no.
Okay. Supervisor Saylor, did you have any comment on our process with this project?
I'm glad, I'm just happy, I agree with you, Wade, that this is an opportunity for us, and Jesse's points that she made in our conversation were very strong. Last week, we were getting letters from Mariani, and from the library, and from Winners Healthcare, and Rise, and Viola Housing. We've done that, and a couple others, I think, and Bill Lagatuda is putting together a video. He did his shots today. He earlier planned to do it, I think last Friday, but it was, the lighting wasn't right. So he's postponed that. But I'm really optimistic that this is the time. You never know. But I think we won't be for lack of trying. So it's an important thing.
Yeah, it's a much needed project, that's for sure. That's for darn sure. Okay, if we don't have any more comments on it, I think everybody's pretty much in agreement. I don't think we need a vote. We can just do a final draft of the letter that Councilmember Lauren we can get to Tracy, and she'll put it on the proper paper, and we can run around and get everybody to sign it.
Perfect.
So we can get it sent off. So, okay, with that said, is there anything else? City Manager Shelley Gunby, do you have anything to report?
No, it's been quieter today than it's been for the last week, so I'm kind of grateful for that at this point. I just want to thank everybody in the community. Watching people come and bring things to the fire station to help the first responders that was then taken up to the people that were working so that they had food and water and to stay hydrated. It was really amazing to see all of these people come to the fire station and make sure that our firefighters were taken care of. And then when we moved away from that, to start seeing what Jesse and Lisa have been working on and how the community has just come together to help one another has just really been awesome and inspiring to see. So I'm grateful to be here right now. It's been a lot of work, but it's good to see everybody pulling together.
Thank you. I don't know how much I believe that last statement after the week we've had, but if that's your story, stick to it.
You know, it's just amazing how much this community pulls together to care for one another. And I thought the really bright spot. Yes, it was a bad week last week, and yes, some really unfortunate and bad things happened. But on the flip side, we've got such an amazing group of folks that live here and take care of one another, and we should be really thankful for that.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think with that, if nobody else has any other comments.
I just have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
What people are reaching out for now is answers. I know that the city website, and I think it's called Recover Solano or Solano Recovery, something like that, has information on FEMA. There's kind of guidelines of how to find out if you have insurance, if you lost everything, and so forth. But I'm hoping that the city website, Facebook pages, and so forth can just continue to have really good information, because I'm starting to get calls of like, how can I find emergency housing? And people don't know what resources are out there. So if we can make them very public. I know they're already doing it in Solano, but that doesn't mean that the people that have, they've lost their home, but they're staying in Winners houses are necessarily going to the Solano sites again, because Winners is their home. They're looking for YOLO answers. So if we could just be on that, that would be, I know that we already are. And I actually wanted to say that, Shelley, I don't think the city's ever done such a great job. You've done a better job getting the information out, as has Gail Jimenez. And I think, often we do our best, but we knocked it out of the park. I think we did a really good job. So thank you for all your work on that, and I hope we continue to do so.
Well, I have to admit that was all Gail, because I am not the Facebook person, And as soon as somebody sent me a text, I just went over to Gail and said, it's time for you to take this over, because I don't know how to get from text to Facebook. So Gail did all of that. She stayed on top of it. If I had stuff that I wanted, I just took it to her and had her get it involved. And then we also have Lara with Sister Enterprises that helps us keep our website up. And so I've been really depending on those two because they know their stuff. I just tell them what I want and then they make it happen, and I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Paul.
Just to follow up on that, the city does have information on their website now, about the FEMA assistance that's available, so if people want to go there.
Yeah, we posted all that, yeah. Yep, so it is there, and we're posting it as updates as fast as we can, as soon as we get them. So we're trying to keep that out there on the Facebook and on the city website and all the available places. So, all right, with that, we're going to close this special meeting at 5:30. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.